And now I want to invite the next speaker, Professor Most Reverend Yuriy SHCHURKO, to give his lecture. Father Yuriy is a Byzantine Catholic priest, and he came to us from the war in our neighboring country, so we are especially grateful to him for accepting our invitation. Professor SHCHURKO is the Dean of the Theological Faculty of the Ukrainian Catholic University, and the title of his lecture is "Why in the 21st Century Just War Theory is Still Relevant, the Case of Ukraine." The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. To begin with, let me express big gratitude for an invitation. It's a big honor to be here. I wanted to present the paper I wrote as a part of my new coming book, Just Peace in Ukraine and I in Hope. I also taught a course last semester in Notre Dame on this issue. But I suspected that afternoon is not the best way for a long read. And even you are fighting, do not fall asleep. I guess it's better to present some kind of presentation with PowerPoint, and if the materials of conference will be published, you will read this if you will find it appropriate. So, at the beginning, I would like to start that humans, all of us, me and you, are created for peace. When we look at the history of salvation, I would like to mention just first two chapters of the Bible, where we find the description of the creation of the world and us as humans. You will not find the word shalom, peace, in these chapters, but general summary of these two chapters can be described by the word peace. Peace is not absence of the war. It's something what we can translate into modern languages like happiness, health, right relationships. It means to be content, to be happy, to be healthy, etc. It's a word, in fact, which is common for more than 70 Semitic dialects. It's impossible to transfer in any language within a couple words. When you will look at the last chapters of the Bible, you will find that two last chapters of the book of Revelation are speaking about a renewing of the state of peace without mentioning peace precisely. And everything in between is attempts of God to renew this peace. Even in the darkest periods of the history of salvation, in the book of Judges, God is called Lord of Peace. Even until today, people on the Near East congratulate each other, wishing Shalom Aleichem, peace be to all, or may you be well, more precise translation. And when they are going to join to their forefathers, they wanna go in peace. When we look in the New Testament, we see that Jesus is the one who brings peace in different situations. When he forgives sins, when he heals people, and when he appears as a resurrected Lord. Paul developed a great theology of peace. And when we will look what is driving our life, it's hope for peace. We are in the middle of Jubilee year of hope. But hope in the Old Testament as a verb always means waiting, waiting for peace. Notion hope in Hebrew is also a result of expectation. And it can be strange, but if you will read New Testament, especially Gospels, you will find only 5 cases where world peace as a notion, as a known, appears, only 3 of 5 with a theological emphasis. But Paul, in comparing to this, even Jesus brought this hoped peace. Paul develops the theology of hope as he developed theology of peace. You know, the final book of the Christian Bible, which we call Revelation, is a message of hope for persecuted Christians. But you will not find this precise word hope in the book of Revelation at all. It's absent. Why? Because of its implicit notion. Peace, shalom, and hope. It's something which implicitly lives in people's hearts. And we hoping for peace, even we recognize themselves believers or non-believers. It's first things. And this is what is my worldview. I'm a biblical scholar. Unfortunately, all book I published until now were in biblical area. But due to the full-scale Russian invasion, I switched a little bit in social teaching of the church, what we call social doctrine of the church. Because I have to explain for myself, for my co-citizens, what's going on through the biblical glasses and the teaching of the church. This is why I researched this topic from different angles. And today we had beautiful presentation about just war theory. We didn't hear many things about pacifism. But, you know, scholars usually distinguish between personal approach, which can be generally called pacifistic, when we are called to forgive those who sin against us. And we also understand that office, state has quite different responsibility. When I can personally forgive person, state obliged to punish evildoers. But during the history, church always struggled with these 2 paths of pacifism and what we call today just war theory, or after Second Vatican, lawful defense. And at the end of the 20th century, most Christian denominations, especially 4 main denominations in the United States, including Roman Catholic, with their very wonderful good document, The Challenge of Peace, they said we cannot, you know, always be in this contradiction between pacifism and just war theory. We have to work on preventing war. This is how appeared what we call today just peace-making theory, which calls us, which challenges us with the active initiatives to establish peace. And as a result of this, when you will look what was published the latest in this area in Notre Dame at the end of the last 2024, it was a book, The Catholic Case Against War, a brief guide. It says, like, what was already said today, repeating what Pope Francis said, that the war is failure for all. But as wise Rabbi Dissenyi, Jewish Rabbi Dissenyi, said in Gregorian University in January 2024, to say that the war is failure for all, unfortunately, is a decadence of theology. Because war should be failure only for an aggressor, not for the invaded state, not for the victim. It's decadence of theology. And in my humble but accurate opinion, we are forgetting, my dears, that we are not living in paradise. It's can be like my public confession, but before 2014, As a biblical scholar, reading guys like Richard Hayes, he passed away last year, I pretended to be more pacifistic in my worldview. But after Russian invasion and action Crimea 11 years ago, I started to think, okay, I am not living in paradise. There is evil in the world. And sometimes, I suggest to people who live still in a paradigm of a small, bubble of peaceful world to read the book of N.T. Wright, Evil and the Justice of God. Then you will start to understand that there is evil in the world. You can be attacked, you can be killed. And even you are aiming for peace, even you are hoping for peace, even you are created for peace, we are not in paradise. Russia's unprovoked aggression against Ukraine demonstrates that when confronted with naked evil, just virtue remains essential for moral reasoning about the use of force in defense of innocent. Even Catholics today want to say lawful defense, avoiding word war. Defending ourselves, we are in a war. We should not afraid that we are sinful people. That sometimes to protect ourselves, we are using force which differs from violence, because of not all force is violence. This is why we have special forces for protecting innocent people. I would like to share with you four very important points if you are still with me. I know that you are fighting, do not fall asleep, all this stuff, but I do my best. So, first, unpunished evil does not disappear by itself. It's not my statement. It's a statement of Ukrainian moral dissident, former vice rector of Ukrainian Catholic University, Miroslav Marinovich, who was imprisoned for 10 years under the Brezhnev regime. And he meant this statement when he was speaking about the crime of communists and of the so-called USSR, Soviet Union. What I mean? After World War II, Nazi Germany was defeated and tried at Nuremberg. West Germany, fortunately, underwent painful purification and became democratic, and we can see the results today. It's quite a different country. Soviet Union, vice versa, appeared among the winners, claiming to be liberated from Nazism, and one of the guys who was sitting in the court in Nuremberg was a representative of Soviet Union. It's a shame, because Stalin, before Hitler made no less crimes, even more. In the 30s, in Ukraine was orchestrated genocide by hunger, what we call Holodomor. Many people, including small nations within former Russian Empire, which was occupied by communists after so-called October Revolution, were deported, killed, and etc. And why we have this war today? Because it's appeared that there was no Nuremberg-like process for communist crimes. There was no. Because the sentence against evildoers is not promptly executed, Ecclesiastes says, therefore the hearts of men are filled with the desire to commit evil. What happened next? When crimes of USSR were not condemned, they expanded its influence. And you Hungarians, you know about this, like me. People in Eastern and Central Europe know Russians coming here, influence, and destroying power. Destroying power. They occupied Central and Eastern Europe with their influences, censorship, and ugly politics for over 40 years. You know, when I visit countries like Belgium or Netherlands, you know what I like in them? Or even Bayern, Bavaria, Western Germany. I don't feel the presence of communists there. You may find it everywhere, on a street, in culture, in behavior of people. You can test it, you can feel it. Second point, the free worlds created a critical error when they said we will not condemn the crimes of Russians and Soviets. We will make a deal with them. We will have a business with them. And what it resulted? That they earned money, they renovated their, reshaped their former ambitions, and they started this war. Because we were not thinking about, I would say, spiritual values. We believed that we can democratize Russia automatically through trade, through business. You know, with the help of Notre Dame University, at my Catholic university, within 2 last years, we had 6 conferences dedicated to just peace. And one of them was named Trading on Blood. Natalia Popovich, who currently lives in Netherlands, said among 2,500 companies, Western companies, international companies, who were working in Russia before full-scale invasion, only 480 left Russia. Others state they are paying taxes for creating income and making possibility for killing Ukrainians. I'm always asking, who will be the next? Who will be the next? Because of most people wanna do their business as usual, closing their eyes that not very far away happening bloodshed. You know how I spend my free time? I am praying for those who are already dead. Among our university community, I mean students and professors, all the 30 are in the cemetery. And most of my friends, priests, I am Ukrainian Catholic of Byzantine tradition, so I am lawfully married, I have to say. And as married people, we have families and kids. And some of my friends, priests, have kids who join the military. And they are fighting for my life and my co-citizens all the 4th year. They burned out, they completely exhausted, and they are alive, but in some way are dead. And I am talking with them, trying to just comfort them, and finding myself completely burned out as well, because I cannot find, words to strengthen them when you face this cruelty and illogical behavior of evil. Third point. Do I still have time? 2 minutes, oh my gosh. Russian Federation cooperated with so-called Russian Orthodox Church. And they together created ideology, what is called Russian world. It's genocidal ideology which explains why there is no such a nation as Ukrainian. They said, there is no Ukraine, there are no Ukrainians. We should be killed. It's general results and ideas of what is. It's yeah. When you look at what resulted in cooperation of Russian Federation, Russian Orthodox Church ideology, we call it Russian Nazism, which we call in Ukrainian Russism. It marked by cult of ruler and the dead, mythologized past, fascism inherent corporativism, total censorship, conspiracy theories, centralized propaganda, etc. And against propaganda, what I see, many people and many nations and countries are not able to withstand. are not able to deal with this. And this propaganda is spreading. It's quite strange and complicated topic. This is why, my dears, we return to this old God's given right to us for protecting ourselves. We know that we are speaking today about 3 different dimensions of this so-called just war theory. Use ad bellum, use in bello, and use post bellum. Thinking how to survive, me and my colleagues are thinking about justice after war. But I guess it should reflect what we call in Hebrew tzedakah, God's order which results in justice, God's order which results in peace, which is maintained by truth. Because in Hebrew scriptures, justice, peace, and truth are always together. This is why, my dears, today, facing all this, what resulted in our not understanding of realities, what we have in Ukraine right now. 46,000 people, 46,000 people are killed. Almost 400,000 are injured. Germans saying that from 50,000 to 100,000 people estimated amputees. Official statistic 3 times less. I believe more German researchers. So population decreased up to 7 million within 3 years and 4 months. You see the numbers. And almost, it was at the beginning, it's a statistic of May of 2025. 1 year ago, statistic was that 12 million people were displaced. 6.7 were internal displaced, others were in Europe, in different countries, including Hungary. So thank you for your hospitality. But you see, and statistic was that before the war we had 43 millions. After 1 year we had 33 million population. Now some people returned, but most people still abroad, and I don't believe that all of them will return due to different circumstances. Because of some of them who originated from eastern and southern Ukraine do not have any place to return. The city are completely destroyed, like by firewall. We have also big casualties with infrastructure. You may see this, but you can Google it and you will find how many things are destroyed. Among them, 4,000 educational institutions. Among them, many universities, churches, I am not counting roads and other things you see. You see these awful statistics. And everything is happening in the middle of Europe in 21st century. This is why just war theory remains a practical necessity, non-academic exercise. Ancient principles provides essential guidance for modern moral complexities. Question of war and peace are fundamentally moral questions. Thank you very much for your attention.